on that topic of these major life changes, and you're also talking about um, moving. Something that happened recently in your life was the decision to actually move from
Yeah.
Virginia over to the
Yeah.
West Coast. I know initially you
Yes.
had visions of going to Las Vegas, but then you and your husband,
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, had managed to find a place over in the Bay Area. And I think all of
Mm-hmm.
this is, part of a larger movement in the United States, really, where people are shedding old expectations that they've had about living in this city or living in that city, or my dream is here, or my dream is there, and
Mm-hmm.
and people reevaluating this chase for a particular experience that they have or that they want to have in certain places. And I think part of this um, you know, conflicts with the whole discussion of the cost of living in the United States, and why people
Mm-hmm.
are having to rethink where they want to live. And another part of it also comes from people having just a general change in priorities. COVID
Yes.
is here, and I think it's really shifted people's perspectives a lot. So, what do you think was the catalyst for you and your husband to, uh, be more open to these different sort of life changes?
Yeah, so both of us, before meeting each other, we definitely are those friends who our friends are always like, oh, you all are kind of like the free spirits. You're sort of like out there doing your thing. And they get that. But in terms of like revisioning what life is and what life should quote unquote look like, yeah, the plan was we were in Virginia first off for Andrew's work. His work brought us there. And I will like I think to the day I die, I feel like that sounds so dramatic, but I feel to the day I die, I'm gonna rep VA. Like we lived there for a little less than 4 years. It was popping, I like the West Coast too, of course, but whenever folks say West Coast, I always want to be like, yo, like stop. Like it's not a competition. There's so much beauty, so much like soul in different places. And I will shout out Norfolk, Virginia, the 757, Hampton Roads, what's good. That place is bomb. This shirt's from there actually. A local DJ out there. Yeah, he has like he's dope. Um, but DJ Fresh Radio. But anyway, so yeah, we were in Virginia, and you talk about having these wanting these experiences. We knew nothing about Virginia prior to living there. We were solely there for his work, especially Norfolk. It's spelled Norfolk, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
pronounced Norfolk or
Mm-hmm.
Norfolk or yeah. So anyway, being there is like, oh my God, it's such a small city. It's so this. Mm-mm. We have met some of the most fun, most like talented, most community minded, warm people in Virginia. So,
Wow.
just saying, in terms of like, you cannot equate a city with what it's going to be. And I almost like don't want to rep Norfolk too much because I don't want people all like blowing it up and going there. It's like, don't go there, don't go there, but but go there, but don't. Oh no, like don't fuck it up. But anyway, so that was that, and then his project ended, and we're like, especially the pandemic, right? We're like, we want to be closer to family because we're like, we haven't seen our family in what over a year, and Andrew's an only child. We're both Filipinos, so we're both very close to our families. So we're like, let's move to Vegas. My dad died when I was younger, and my mom has had, she had there's my stepfather. He passed away. My mom is a resilient woman who's just was dealt this card dealing with a lot of loss. And it was hard. Her boyfriend, her partner for the past 3 years, and who, they both had plans for the future together, he passed away recently. And so now it's like, damn, my mom's in Vegas by herself. And again, not trying to paint my mom like, oh, I feel bad for her, but I do feel bad. But my mom is honestly a remarkable woman who's experienced so much loss in her life. Both her parents also passed, so she's experienced a lot of death firsthand, but she's not bitter. She's a trooper, and she's also a free spirit that she understands. People get to live their life the way they want to. She chooses to live in Vegas, and she could probably school a bunch of y'all on the mahjong and poker tables, right? Like her hobbies are gambling. She just likes to gamble. But the idea was, oh, it makes sense if you like stick to logic. Oh, Vegas makes sense because we're of an age where, you know, if we want a family, so we should probably start trying to have kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's there, and we can buy a house, and it can be more affordable than other places out west. And we could, you know, it all made sense. Like, we'll have a house, and my mom will live with us, and we'll like start raising a family. But then when push came to shove, like that nagging voice, that scratching voice, that clawing to come out, it's like, girl, you don't want to have kids yet. Like, you're not ready to settle down yet. Like, you're not. And the thing was, it's like this phrase that kind of has been echoing in my mind is like self-betrayal. Like, how do we betray ourselves? Right, where it's like, oh, but it makes sense to do Vegas because, you know, you're at a certain age and it's time to settle down and be homeowners and do this because we're blessed. Like, thank God, like we are blessed that we can be a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
um but something was just calling to my spirit, and I knew it, and Andrew knew it too. It's like, we're not ready for Vegas. Like, Vegas is cool, don't get me wrong, but it's freaking hot, right? It's so hot. And we were like, there's nothing tying us down other than these familial expectations and obligations. And it's kind of the same thing with exercise. Like, if you treat it as like, oh, I have to do it, it just instantly becomes so much more heavy. But if it's a, I am choosing to joyfully go into this, then yeah. And with Vegas, we realized we weren't there. We were house hunting. We didn't find anything. One, the housing market was ridiculous when we were looking. Like, fucking people paying straight cash 50K over asking. That makes no damn sense. Like, sight unseen. I'm like, okay, Scrooge McDuck with that much money just to ball out without, but you know. And so a friend had mentioned, hey, you know, because we both used to live in the Bay, Andrew and I. She's like, rent's gotten way cheaper, and a lot of places here are doing like 2 months free, 3 months free because of the pandemic. A lot of people moved out of the city, right? And so we're like, let's just entertain this. Let's see, maybe we do come back to the Bay because, quite frankly, we don't want to raise kids here. It's a lovely place to raise a kid. Not like, I don't want all the Bay people to be like, what? Like, you got to, no, I don't have issues with Bay. It's more so for us, like, the people who would help us raise our kid are not here.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? And plus,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, it's so expensive here. Like, could I afford a child out here? I don't know. I don't know. But I know that we can afford for Andrew, me, and our dog to be out here. So we are actually applying for an apartment tonight. We have done so much apartment hunting and searching, and I think we found it. So yeah, I don't even, sorry, I'm like, I don't even remember what the question was, but just saying, I think one of the, I hate to say it like this, but there's this phrase, right? You're like, what's your North Star? Like, what's that thing that guides you?
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, like, I my fucking intuition. It's like, as much as I want to shut it up, sometimes like I can't. And even though it has been challenging and a stretch, it's been uncomfortable for sure to be here because in SF, it's like we're spending more money than we ever thought. But then at the same time, and it didn't mean for that to come off as elitist. And I recognize that might come off as elitist, but it's more so where I'm at in this idea of like personal development and personal growth is, if I still do the same things, I'm never going to change. And so going back to this idea of having a relationship with money, right? It's, if I'm trying to grow, if I'm trying to see how far I can push my limits, what my new frontier will be, I do need to do things that are uncomfortable, which includes like maybe spending more on rent than what I'm ever used to, right? But on the flip side, like, I landed a gig out here which pays very well that I never would have thought, I don't think I would ever get in another city just because of like the job market out here. So it's almost like I opened myself up realizing, okay, it's going to be a little more expensive, but then the universe, or however you want to phrase it, like life, it's like, okay, you stretched yourself and we're going to give you this gig that affords you to live here. So again, I do feel a little uncomfortable talking this way, but I feel like folks out there who might feel me, but then again, it's all a journey. I think if I heard someone talking like me a few years back, I'd be like, oh my God, this girl is just fucking out there. She is so clueless. She's so disconnected with reality. And then now it's like, I realize, wait, I can ease up on myself. I can allow myself to be comfortable. I can allow myself to find like ease. I don't always have to struggle, you know? And whether that's allowing myself what I like, I think that's what it is. It's like really truly listening to what it is I want, because I realized through this process of looking for an apartment, of figuring out where we want to live, all that, I don't think I ever had the chance to really honor my wants.
Wow. That idea of like honoring your wants and uh, having that self reflection to enough to be able to say, um, you know what, I think this is my priority, and I think this is what I really want. My last question of the day is, it's a pretty simple question, but it's about your work on Rise and Shine and the vision that you have of redefining happiness and self worth and helping folks
Mm-hmm.
go through that journey themselves. I know a lot of folks in the LAG community have lost jobs due to COVID, and some have left their careers to find something else. Uh, as somebody who's taken on a diverse array of opportunities, what can you say about redefining happiness and self worth in like this this current age of COVID, political
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty? Like, how do you sort of reconcile with this idea of self worth and happiness and coming up with a new definition?
Yeah, I think it all starts with like the discomfort of recognizing, oh shit, like I'm not happy, or like, oh, I'm not fulfilled. It's like having that moment of clarity where you're like, oh, this dreading feeling that I carry every fucking day in my chest, or this like heavy ass feeling I feel, this is discontentment, right? Or like this is discomfort in a bad way, not in a I'm gonna grow way, in a like I fucking hate this. And so the flip side I feel is like, however heavy and burdensome and low that feeling is, that just opens up the capacity for like, okay, there has to be a balance in this, right? And when I think about the word like redefine, to me it really speaks about empowering the individual, empowering the person to be like, no, this is my life. I get to dictate, I get to choose, I get to lead and live out what is important to me, unapologetically, right? So when I think about redefining happiness, to me, there's a lot of feelings of like ownership, right? Owning you're happy. Because I think it's easy for folks, myself included, to be like, I'm uncomfortable, or I'm not happy because of this, because of external situations, right? But then it's like, if you want to counter that thought and be like, no, I'm going to own my happiness, I'm going to redefine it. That puts a lot of the power, responsibility, yeah, but ultimately the power back on you. Where it's like, so what makes you happy? And it could be something as simple as like me, I love K dramas. It's like I am truly happy when I'm enjoying my K dramas. Like, am I going to throw away my whole day doing it? If I wish I could, but no, I'm not. But my point is, it's like redefining happiness. Your happiness does not need to be tied to an accomplishment. You're happy, like you are not meant to be a constant flow of accomplishment after accomplishment after accomplishment. Like fuck that. Like you are allowed to live your life unapologetically happy, doing what makes you happy, being in spaces that make you happy. And it's not all about being happy 24/7. That's not my point. My point is we are allowed we are allowed happiness. And I think especially for like children of immigrants, people of color, like me, like I grew up on free lunch, like having this realization that I deserve to be happy, however I define it, that's fucking mind. That's a game changer, right? And it's like you kind of stop hiding, you stop shadowing yourself. That's why like Rise and Shine was really this idea of like awakening to your own self, to your own potential, but also to your own fucking life. Like wake up, it's time to live. It's time to rise and shine, right? However you decide to live that. So to me, yeah, redefining happiness is just the first thought of recognizing you deserve to be happy. And you don't have to like fucking be a NASA scientist and a doctor and a like there's that one Asian guy, right? The Asian dude who's like the military
Yeah,
guy, right? Who's
yeah,
just
yeah,
fucking like checking everybody falls off. And I mean, very impressive and props to him because like, if you want it, go for it. But if that's not you, that's definitely not me. Like if that's not you, you still deserve happiness, right? And health. And the whole idea of like redefining happiness and self-worth, I do feel that these two entities are connected, because if you don't feel like you're worthy, you are going to take on more stuff. And it's not even like as explicit as, oh, I'm going to be in an abusive relationship, or, oh, I'm going to settle for less necessarily. It's things like people pleasing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you have to ensure that other people are happy? Oh, because in some way you feel that, you know, their happiness is reliant on you, or that you owe them, or that you would be a bad person by displeasing others, which I think is a big thing that especially people like Asian Americans struggle with, right?
Mm-hmm.
um and it's this idea of like your self-worth, like you are allowed yourself to have self-worth, self-dignity, self-respect, because if you're not going to do it, that's how you're teaching others how to treat you, you know. So it's kind of like, if you take the space to be like, yes, I value myself enough to not let you fucking try me, you know. And I work with kids, right? So even like even like you have to, I mean, I'm not cursing or anything at kids, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, yes, like, and it honestly too, it's not going to other people like, look, I respect myself enough, I'm not gonna let you try me. It goes the same, I feel, to ourselves. Like, I respect myself enough that I'm not gonna put myself in unnecessary situations, such as like extra drama, because I don't want to face my fears of
Mm-hmm.
my own issues. Like, you gotta work, we gotta work on ourselves.
Yeah.
I feel like I do that every day. And to me, part of that personal development, working on myself, is through movement. It is through meditation. It is through breathing. It is through giving myself grace and forgiveness for not being all the things I quote unquote should be, or like acting in the ways I should, right? It's like, we're human. End of the day, we are human, and that's okay. We are flawed. We are fine. We are everything in between.